And what do we have here? Eibach. So it's time for some suspension work. So you got some anti-sway bars and some lowering springs. They're going in the car or on the car, not in the car. Oh yeah, stickers. You know where those are going. So, wonder if this one came with stickers. I don't see any. Huh. Maybe they're in the little baggies. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock out both installations at the same time, because obviously I got front coils and rear coils, and then I obviously have a front sway bar and the smaller one is the rear sway bar. So but the instructions are right on their website as far as I know. I got a couple actually pretty detailed videos on how to do the install. So but yeah, some suspension work, and after fighting with the headers, this should be nice and easy. This is the stance prior. So I can squeeze my fist in there. And same thing, well, it's a little tighter in the front. All right, well, I think we got her off the ground enough. Let's get those tires off. Ooh, it's hot. Why'd I pick the middle of summer to do this? I don't know. First thing we gotta do, take out that 21. I believe it's right here. Right there. and it'll make it so this is disconnected from there. So that's where we're going to start. Alright, there's that 21 removed. Put the bolt back on there just so I don't lose it. What I did was set up the jack to hold the weight if needed. So you can see that. So I set up the jack to hold the weight if needed, so this thing doesn't, the whole thing doesn't pop down too far. I gotta pop this out of there just so it's nice and loose, and then I believe this thing holding it on, focus, right here, I believe 18 millimeter. So we'll pop that out and we'll go from there. Seems odd, but instead of actually going down, mine went up. Huh. Interesting. Alright, so keeping this in place for when it is loose, we'll keep that there. And then what we have to do is back this 18 millimeter off. So still have 18 on the gun, so we got to back that 18 millimeter off just enough to pop the ball joint down before we loosen it all the way. Okay. Yeah. Whose idea was this? Alright, that's loose. This ain't so bad. The next step is to get the 13 millimeter bolts from the top. And then this is moving freely. So yeah. The only thing currently holding it up is from the strut brace. So I think we just have to pull those. Alright, so next up is these three 13 millimeters, and then once you take this guy off, or all three of these off, then it's going to be free flowing here, so that'll be loose. So hold on to it from underneath or it's just going to drop, but probably won't drop too far because, like I said, I got the jack down there right now. Okay, so now the whole assembly is loose in here. So got to maneuver it a little bit so I can get past the jack there and slide it out. There's plenty of space on this side, so I'll probably try to push it up, slide it this way or this way, and then pull it out at an angle this way. So gonna do that, and then we're gonna compress a strut. That should be fun. All right, she's out. I'm sweating, and it's wide open now. All right, so not by any stretch of the imagination am I a professional. I got this from AutoZone. It's like $50 if I don't return it, so it only costs $50. I'm gonna get some bug spray because I'm out here in the wilderness, as you can see. But basically, to do this, to compress this spring so I can loosen this 18, to compress the spring, you go swap from side to side, tighten a little, tighten a little, tighten a little, tighten a little. Then once you have a little bit of space here, then you loosen that, and then it should come out. So obviously I need both hands to do this, and you know, I don't want anybody to see me impale myself, so stay tuned. Hopefully I'll see you on the other side. So quick update. As you can see, it's still out. It's later in the day, so I fought with that coil compressor tool, and no matter how much I tried to compress it, it's still the bolts were like the 18 on the top was kind of rusted. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop out the other side, same thing, and then I'm going to take those to a shop and have them release them. So but then I'll show you guys the put back in, and I'm also going to work on the front sway bar now and get that removed or replaced with the Eibach one. So that's where we're at. Alright, just to give you a visual on the, well, obviously that's the after. So this is the one, let me get a better handle on it. That's the one that came out, and that's the one that goes in. Let's see if I can line them up close. That's about as close as I can get. So it looks about, I don't know, 2 to 3 inches on the left there. So should be a considerable drop. It says it drops up to, I think, 2 inches in the front and then 2.1 in the rear. So we'll see how it looks once it's back on the car. So I used leg. I'll be alright. Let's see here. Let's minimize this a little bit. So I used reverse order, basically. First thing, you bring the strut back in, and you connect it up top with the, just hand tighten the 3 bolts on the strut tower. So you hand tighten those, and then you wiggle it into place, and you get that one first, 18 millimeter back into place. Next you do this guy, same thing, 18 millimeter. This does tend to spin a little bit, so you got to put a little pressure there to get it to actually tighten up, but it does tighten. And then third one is the 21 there, and that one pretty much I had to use a ratcheting wrench that 21 right there, and then that 10 millimeter right on the tip there. Put the 10 millimeter and the 21 in there, because ratcheting it with the air gun did not work at all until I got it tight enough to where it would grip. So, and this one should be done. So my reverse order was, I started with the passenger side, moved to the driver's side. Now I'm at the driver's side, moving back to the passenger side. I have yet to do the sway bar. So as you can show, passenger side in, all bolts tighten. Let's see, this back bolt here was 128 foot-pounds. I think this one here is 50 foot-pounds. It's pretty much the gist of it. These 13 millimeters, I think they were 30 foot-pounds. So, for reference, for your torque specs. So, next is the sway bar install, which sway bar is easier to see from this side. That's big, thick black that goes back. It's got some heat shields in the front there. So, first things first, I believe this connection right here is, you can see the little 10 millimeter tip, and I believe that is a 21 millimeter. So we'll remove that on both sides to start. Next is, I believe these are 8 millimeters. There's one on each side, and that will expose the bolts holding the bracket in place. So, or holding the, whatever this is, the casing for it. So take those off, and then should be four 8 millimeter bolts holding those on. Alright, with the heat shield off of there, and it exposes two 15 millimeter bolts. This will be on both sides. So once I pop those two bolts off, then the whole unit should pop off, and then just reverse the process. But there was some lubrication, some clear that came in the package that goes inside these rubber gaskets here. So there's a couple black rubber gaskets that go with the new red sway bar. So lube those up and then put them in place. So it's pretty simple. This one's not too hard, at least the front. We'll find out what the back does, but I'll pop these off, get it swapped, and we'll go from there. Okay, here we are in comparison. So with these, there's two different connections. The one closer to the pole is a more stiff connection. The second one is a looser connection, but still stiffer, more stiff than the stock one. So that is the difference. It's got a fancy little Eibach label right there. So basically, you take this grease, you put it on the inside of those couplers, and then the couplers go on either side, on the outside here, and then you pop it back in place. So that's what we're doing. There's the front strut with the lowering spring, and there's the front sway bar, heat shield back on, all the way across. So since the front end's done, I see fingerprints on my rotor here. So I'm going to take some brake clean that off, get the tires back on, lower the front end, and get this party started in the back. So here, man, I need a light over here, but here's the stock sway bar right there, and there's obviously the stock spring right there. and I apologize for how dark it is, but I got both tires off. I'm up on jack stands, got a wheel chuck up there. This one is not going to be fun because it is literally up in there, like up in there. So wish me luck. Alright, so here's my current setup. Let me zoom out, see if we can get all this in. So just getting ready to drop the subframe here. So this one's underneath that one. I got the blue hydraulic underneath the differential, and then that one's underneath that one. So there's 4 bolts on either side holding the subframe up. I'm going to loosen those. I removed that one there, so that's just hanging there. That connects up the sway bar in the back. I'm hoping that when I drop the subframe that the factory springs fall out, because then that'll make that replacement job super easy. So that's where I'm at. There was one 10 millimeter brake line bolt that was way up in the plastic somewhere. That was a pain in the butt, but got that. So right now we're just at the point where we're about to drop this rear end and pray. I'm not gonna lay underneath it though. I'm gonna do it from the side. So fingers crossed. Okay, not a lot of space, but there's your comparison. Man, I gotta clean this garage. The stock one is actually a little bit thicker. And again, you got the dual options there. The closer one in is the stiffer, and this is a little more loose, but both are still stiffer than the standard stock. So now reverse the process. Back in. Here we go. Alright, so it's back in. Those are partially tight, not all the way tight, but partially tight because I wanted to get it in the right position. But one thing you'll notice that I still have the factory shock. So I'm going to go ahead and I think, let's see here. There on the other side. There we go. So that bolt right there, and I believe that bolt right there should come out. But I gotta support this so this, if the spring's got any tension, then it doesn't just snap on me. So since what I'm gonna need to do is probably go ahead and tighten these down all the way. Not too worried about this one because that's on the outside, but I'm going to tighten those down all the way, both sides, and then I can use my jack under here to support that spring. So stay tuned. Wait. Time to call it a night though. Other side, I'll complete in the morning. Here's what we're looking like. I haven't hooked that up yet. So hardest part when putting back together is getting that back bolt lined up underneath the spring, and then second to that is lining up the motor mounts once you have that piece completed. So those are the two hardest, so hopefully I don't run into anything more. Other side. And again, I have not hooked that up yet. So, moving on. This is the after. Front almost tucks up in there. One finger. Two would be a struggle. Exactly two. Three is a struggle. Hit me up in the comments. Tell me what you guys think. Sea Dog out.